Doo-doo-doo-doo. Welcome back to this episode of Quantum Perspectives with myself, Jason, and my co host.
Iori?
In this episode, we're going to be talking about phrases, media, and other things that have affected us to change in a both positive and or negative way. This can be from our surroundings, it can be from things that we've watched, things that we've heard or read on social media, TV, growing up, and much, much more. So let me give this to you first. Do you have any phrases or medias that affected you growing up or even now, let's say?
I realized that I tend to be very influenced by animes that I watch. Starting from Full Metal Alchemist and Yuri on Ice, and the most recent one will be Licorice Recoil. What about you?
I also grew up with, I guess, anime. I watched Doraemon, and that really opened up my creativity and I wish I had that kind of pocket or that kind of friend like Doraemon. There was this one episode which I feel very dumb for trying to replicate. In one episode, Nobita was trying to study for a test, and
Is it
Doraemon.
Ankipan?
No, I don't. Is it? What's Ankipan? Sorry, just to clarify.
It's a bread where you can kind of scan your notebook and eat it so that you memorize.
Yeah, I did it.
Oh
I
yeah.
wrote my notes. I put that bread on that book, and nothing stuck on.
Oh.
And my parents called me dumb for trying, but I said it worked. And I saw that it worked on TV. And if Dorai, maybe it's the wrong bread. Yeah, it's not the wrong bread.
You know what? I've drawn a whole diagram with stars and symbols and, clapped my hand and touched it just to see what happens because I wanted to be Edward Elric myself and nothing happened.
You drew a circle?
Yeah, I drew a circle and I barely remembered, but they draw a star-ish thing on it and then put some symbols. So
What did you draw with chalk?
No, I just did it on a piece of paper.
Maybe you should have drawn on the ground.
I should have.
But
I
people
should
would
try
think
that.
you're summoning something else. I would assume.
I think I will try that. Maybe like tomorrow.
Oh my, I shouldn't have said that. Maybe.
Oh, wow.
But when I think about what I heard or listened to growing up, I'd say it's analogies and idioms that my family would say. And these ones I'd say are the ones that stuck and changed me for the better. Sometimes I question if they make sense or not. Like a few episodes ago, I said, it's the emptiest drums that ring the crispiest because it's empty. There's also another one that's translated to English as enemy in the blanket.
Okay,
That's
what
another
does that mean?
enemy in the blanket. That means your closest enemy is it tends to be someone that you let in really close to you because it's in
I
your
see.
blanket, right?
I see.
Because it's under this assumption that did you grow up being told that you're safe as long as you're under your blanket or you're in the blanket? No one's gonna attack
No,
you.
no.
Like the monsters under your bed are afraid of you when you're in your blanket.
Oh, that's
It's
where it's
un,
coming from.
it's under this pretense that you're safe as long as you're in your blankets. Therefore, if your enemy is in your blanket, that means they're the people closest to you that make you feel safe.
I see. Is it where
Yeah.
your trust issue is coming from? Just asking. I'm sorry.
Let's just say a lot of these analogies, I've seen the real life applications of them.
I see, but I'm more of former foe became your friend type of person.
Sorry, what did you say?
For I'm not sure if I'm saying this correctly, but former foe becomes your friend. It's like
The enemy of my enemy is my friend?
yeah, like people who used to be sort of like opposing you or rivals, enemies, they become your friend.
Is this from anime by any chance? This
I
sounds like
don't
a
think
very
so.
normal plot line.
It's I learned this phrase from lyrics of a Swedish band. Uh,
Oh,
it's called Gravitonas.
that sounds very
Uh,
scientific.
yeah, and
Did
wait,
they
is it actually?
sing in Swedish? If they're a Swedish band by any chance?
Um, no, actually, they sing in um English. And okay, so about the band, um, I learned about the band because there was this another band that I really liked that was produced by the same person, again, a Swedish music producer called Alexander Bard. Um, so that original band is called BWO, which stands for Bodies Without Organs. That's a philosophy term, I think. And that music producer person is also a um, professor at university, and he teaches philosophy. So that's where it's coming from. And yeah, actually, that band influenced me a lot, I'd say, sort of subconsciously, because two other members of the band, the keyboard person was an art dealer, and the vocalist was an engineer. So it first taught me that, oh, people can balance two completely different things as a job, because they're, all doing band, doing music as uh, one of their careers, but also they have their own thing. Plus, all those things that they're doing kind of shaped me what I'm interested in, to think back now.
But speaking of music, this
Okay.
is the episode I've been long waiting for to talk about the 48 group, AKB 48 group, and their influence for me. I'd say it's still ongoing, but it started in 2008. I understand that they started a bit before 2008, so I'm not exactly one of those what you would call I'm your fan from day one because I did not know about them from day one. But I did my homework. I went back in time first, so I watched all the first beginning.
Sure then.
Thankful for all the documentaries that they used to put legally and illegally on the internet back then, so I get to catch up. But if I have to say, that's in terms of music, that's my biggest influence. Of course, except for music from Indonesian, sorry, Indonesia. So there, I am a fan of sad songs. If you don't know, some of the most common music, or if I'd say, I dare say, the most common music in Indonesia is like
Oh, really?
heartbroken, moving on. I don't know why, but most of our songs is about heartbroken, one-sided love, not being able to move on. Those are the best hit songs. I don't know why, but those are the best songs that we have. And it just, this common theme, it just go, the wheel just keeps turning. Same concept, different packaging, different
Interesting.
singer. Yeah, it hasn't changed.
Well, I guess it's similar in Japan, but then I'm not really a listener of those songs. Uh, I listen to a lot of techno music and electronic music without any like vocals often. So
To like house, it's just like
is
beats
it?
and like a synth.
Mm-hmm. Or lyrics that are hard to interpret, or just random words kind of put together and they don't make a lot of sense, but kind of make sense as a whole type of thing.
That sounds like performance art.
Yes, yes,
I
definitely.
don't know what, I don't know if you know this artwork, but there's a performance art where it's just somebody yelling into the mic. I don't know if you've seen this performance before. It happened to be a Japanese person too.
Oh,
Yeah, it just had like a mic, single mic connected to a speaker,
uh-huh.
and it just sounded, not to, I don't mean to be rude, but it sounded very metal. It's like, and he was just yelling into the mic.
It reminds me of Yoko Ono.
Oh, I only know one piece from Yoko Ono. It's the one where she's sitting down and she's getting her
Ah,
pieces of
the cut
clothing cut.
piece, yeah.
Yeah, that's only this one because it keeps getting played, so that's the one I remember the most.
But there was this song, okay, so by both John Lennon and Yoko Ono, which is basically both of them yelling each other's name, and that's it.
But
But
going back to
anyways,
music, going back to
yes.
my music experience, it didn't end there because I don't. For those of you who don't know, because they're the 48 groups would have concerts. They'll have like interviews. They go to shows. But I really like their documentaries. There are a
So,
few. Um, One of them is called "No Flower Without Rain." Oh, what this documentary talked about was their journey from day one and how they got to where they are now. And I like the concept. No flower without rain. Yes, I know when you think about it, you can water the flowers, but you can't water all the flowers. Some of them are out of reach. That's why you need the rain. And sometimes when you think of the rain, that's not really the most positive looking sky out there, right? It's dark, it's cloudy. The rain is all the tears or the sweat.
wow.
And there's another saying which I hope maybe you can translate this for me. 汗の量は半端じゃない.
The
I
amount
think
of sweat
it's,
is incredible.
I don't know. It's 半端じゃない is like,
I don't
it's
know
not
how to
just,
translate that though.
I think how that translated, I'm, look at me trying to correct a Japanese person. But I, when I listened to it back then, I interpreted it more as the amount of sweat that they shed. Is that the right word? Shed is not just for show.
I see. Well, as a native Japanese speaker, I took it as it's the amount is incredible as in it's abnormal. It's not a regular
Mm,
amount. But I see your point though.
This could be my lack of, you know, my lack of skills, but that's how I interpret it as back then. Like 한파잖아, it's like it's not just for show. It's not, you know, yeah, like you said, it's an incredible amount. It's not. It's abnormal.
Perfect.
And there are things like that where, and another one that says there was an interview. For those of you who don't know, their center person, Maeda Atsuko-san, who was, and is I would say still is legendary in 48 group history. She had this one interview in for her road to graduation, which was such a big deal back then.
Right. Right.
And there was a scene of her when they were preparing for the concert. There was actually a few scenes where this is such a monumental goal. They'd never gone to Tokyo Dome for those, and for most groups, I would say Tokyo Dome or performing at Tokyo Dome concert is such a big deal. It seems like it was such a pinnacle or monumental thing to be there.
Yes.
So
yes.
there were scenes of the younger generation practicing, and there was a first generation person that said, if you want to sleep, go home. Like, this isn't the place for you for that. But if you can push through, if you have that drive, then this is the place for you. There's another scene that says, 遊ぶときは遊ぶ。仕事をやるときはちゃんと仕事をやる。When it's time to play, then play. Have fun. But when it's time to do your work, then it's time to properly do your work. And I absorbed that. I don't know if this is a very work culture mindset where if you're tired, then go home. But for those of you who have the energy and drive to push forward, then you can stay. Keep pushing forward. And then paired with, when it's time to play, you play. When it's time to work, you do your work properly. And those were probably words that were not meant for me, but I took it and made it my own value. Oh, I have to do my work properly. Oh, if I'm tired, then that just shows how much I'm lacking in terms of resolve. I need to push forward. I need to push more. And then there's a episode where they talked about what's a saying that someone said that really helped you. And one person wrote, 努力, 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 which is hard work, hard work, hard work. No, sorry. 努力,
That's
努力,
very you.
Yeah. 努力, 努力, また努力. Hard work, and hard work again. I think that's how you translate it, roughly.
Yes. Yes.
And I can't help but I fell in love with that. Like hard work, and then hard work again. That's how you get somewhere. I
see.
embodied that. And then soon after, I just just jumping ahead, I got into K-pop later on down the road, and something similar. There's a phrase that somebody said, 연습은 배신하지 않아. Practice will never betray. Sorry, practice does not betray. So a bit similar. So those few phrases to me are what made me feel the need to become more machine, to kill off my weak resolve, lack of motivation, and tell myself that the difference of you and the version of you that is more successful is your decision to stand here and ponder about, oh, I don't know if I can do it. Don't think, just do it. That's a difference of 99 and 100%. It's your lack of resolve. And then my dad would sometimes say, why are you so scared of getting 100%? Like, I'm scared of getting 100%? I'm not scared of getting 100%. I'm gonna show him that I'm not scared of getting 100%. I don't usually get 100%, but I'm still gonna try. And it's these phrases that eventually, I'm not blaming anyone. I'm just saying, eventually these phrases become more deeply rooted, and I've become more. I don't know. This is about to get dark, but my value comes from my performance.
I
I don't know
see.
if it's positive or negative, but I'd say depending on the situation, or at least before I met you, or after I met you, I realized that it's quite a negative effect because according to you, I take things too far, and there's a lot of self neglect in the process of it. Because, like you said, and a few others have said, not to disqualify the rest, you're not machine. You get tired, you bleed, you have emotions. You're not built to function like a machine because you're much more than that. But then here I am thinking, "But I have to work hard. I have to work hard. I have to be efficient. You know, kokoro korose, like kill off your heart. Just do it. Stick to the mission. Stick to the plan, and just do it."
And I'd say don't.
Just the contrast.
Yeah.
But this is again not to disregard your opinion, but I got to where I am partly because of this. So there is some credit to it. I'm not saying it doesn't work. I'm not saying I regret it 100%. But again, at what cost, right? But these, and I see a lot of on my social media, for you page on TikTok or my like homepage. I don't know what the word is for Instagram anywhere. Discover page. There's a lot of these, aside from like photo examples from other photographers. I see a lot of "you did well today" or things like that. So I'm trying to really recover, or I guess change my way of thinking now compared to before. But I see media now that help me and phrases. I hear some things from you and from my other friends as well that somewhere along the way they just stick to me. But
Well, actually,
AKB. Oh, sorry. Should I?
sorry.
Oh, okay.
I would. I was just gonna say that I used to have similar point of view because obviously Full Metal Alchemist is about equivalent exchange, right? So you put effort and you get what you deserve, which is you learn something new. And especially back in the days when I was watching and I was of course a kid, right? So I feel like it helped me stay focused on studying and it took me to where I was at certain point I'd say before I sort of shift my mindset. But I I see where you're coming from and I do agree to some level. Go ahead.
But in a more positive light, I'd say back to the 48 group. That if that hasn't been made clear by now, that is the biggest media impact I've had in my um, adolescence life. Let's say, or yeah, growing up from elementary to what's it called? Elementary, secondary, or junior high school to high school, and now university, and before, and now post university. Growing up from I think age 8 or 10, what impact it had on me was the music videos, and ironically, it's in a language that I did not really understand yet. So I don't know how it worked out, but it's like reading a picture book. You just watch the music videos, and you kind of get the storyline. So I want to say I was introduced to video production at a young age. I watched the making of, behind the scenes, but a lot of these videos and the lyrics translation back then really helped me to, how should I put it, gain an understanding of, oh, that's the ideal life that I want to live. For example, there are there's a song called "Iiwake Maybe," or "My Excuse Is Maybe," and
I
a
know that
more.
song.
There is another one called "Fasto Rabbito" or "First Rabbit," which I still don't get what it's really about, but it has some really nice lyrics back then. Uh, there's one line in the chorus that says "Kizutsuku tabi otona ni naru yo." I think it's roughly translated to when we get hurt, you become an adult,
Uh-huh.
and it just stuck with me. Like, oh, really? That means I need to get more hurt, more hurt, more hurt, which is completely wrong, guys. Don't copy this. Beep. The following actions were performed by professionals. Please do not imitate at home. There are more recent ones that I fell in love with. There is Yuhi o miteiru no ka, which is, do you see? Are you looking at the sunlight? Do you see the sunlight? There is a word. There are words in that song that goes, 人間関係は面倒だけど、一人では生きて、一人では生きて、I forgot the lyrics. 一人では生きてられない I think.
生きていけない is it?
うん。人間
I don't
関
know.
係は面倒だけど、一人では生きていけない probably. Like, human interaction is a burden, but we can't live alone. And there is a more recent one called Honest Man, which maybe it's a bit more romance based because it's talking about being honest no matter how uncool you might look like. I think I can't remember the lyrics now, but it goes something like, 君が好きだ、たとえどんなかっこ悪くても、
That's sweet.
本当の気持ちをごますsomething like something. I forgot the lyrics because I remember JKT48 or Jakarta 48 did a translation of it. So also
I
they
see.
did their version of it. So I remember that one more and then I heard the Japanese one because apparently, oh, there's a Japanese one. And then there is another one called 17, which is about a boy and a girl who, the girl moved away and then she came back to her old town and found out that the guy that she liked is now married and has a child, and she was too late to say she liked him. Such is life. But
I
there's just
see.
lyrics like this. Like, there is, I don't know if you know another one called Boku no Taiyo, my son. Maybe
No.
it's okay. But the main point is the chorus, 君は今僕の太陽. Like, you are now my son. I'm like, wow. Like, at least, in my childish or still little child inner self mode, I felt like they were saying that to me. Like, oh, I brighten up their day.
I see.
Don't judge me.
I won't judge you. I can relate.
I'm mostly affected by these songs. I am not too affected by the more recent ones. Unfortunately, I'm not saying they're not good. it just doesn't strike a chord. Maybe because, well, let me defend myself. I think it's because I am, or I was quite binded to the members at the time, and that's what made the difference.
Oh,
So now that the members have changed, I'm not saying maybe because I'm not following it as much anymore because I'm more local in Jakarta or JKT48. That's why I'm not so up to date. And they're not making too much new singles or original new singles. So I would say I'm out of date because they're
oh,
doing more older ones.
I see.
But that's enough of me for now. What about you? Do you have more things you want to share?
So again, I had sort of similar mindset as you do, maybe not to the extent that it was hurting me, or when I noticed that it was kind of hurting me, I changed, right? And then the next anime kind of influenced me was Yuri on Ice. Um, so there's this coach, Yurio's coach. Yurio's my favorite character, and his coach, she she keeps saying a lot of important things, leaving important quotes to me. And one is that throw yourself away. Your past self is dead. People who can be reborn as many times as necessary are the strong ones. So that kind of, you can tell, right? I was trying to change myself completely. So that's, I'd say, an influence. And I still have the idea that I can constantly change myself or keep evolving. So I say this is one of the most important phrases I stick on to this day. And another quote by her is, "Have pride in yourself as a work of art until the very end, Yuri." And when she says Yuri, it kind of sounds like Yori. So I'm like, oh, she said that to me.
I don't know if you're really pushing that one.
Well, but then again, because it's about figure skating, and there are people who express this, so I can relate as an artist too, right? So this kind of mindset helped me not give up when I'm working on something and I have something that I want to express. And sometimes it's not easy to reach to that point or satisfaction, but yeah, so these two quotes really helped me in terms of how I see my life, but more as an artist, I'd say. And again, as an artist, one of the biggest influence will be a quote by Victor, also from the same anime, Yuri on Ice, saying, "You have to do the opposite of what people expect. How else will you surprise them?" That's my motto. So this is where my out of the box way of expressing stuff is probably coming from. But then again, sometimes I'm doing stuff that I see as completely normal, or I feel as within people's expectation, but that can be out of the box to some people. So I'm not fully applying this intentionally, but then again, I like this way of thinking, so I keep that to myself. And I'll share some of the recent ones because it really resonates with my way of thinking right now. And so different anime. It's from Licorice Recoil. And there's this character called Chisato. who I really love, almost worship, because what she said was, what I want to do always gets top priority. Well, that leads to many failures as well. So she knows that that could lead to failures, but she still prioritizes what she wants to do. And it's kind of coming from a setting where she has issues with her heart, so she can't live long. That's why she's trying to enjoy every moment of her life. And it's not that I have a serious health issues, but as I see a lot of old people around me where I live and because of my family situations, this is not something that's too far from me. And it might feel so sad to say this as a person in like mid-20s, but and these quotes might sound kind of taking life not seriously, but for me, I feel that it's actually taking life very, very seriously so that you're not going to regret in the future. I don't know if you agree with this, but that's how my way of thinking kind of shifted over time. And okay, here's another important one by Chisato. You're gonna become sad just so you can meet someone else's expectations? That's boring. And when I heard that, it really got stuck in my heart. I was like, that's true. Because it might go back to the last episode, but at the end of the day, it's your life. Like, I should do what I want to do. So, yeah. Again, that's where I am at right now. Any thoughts?
Oh, no, not really. Thank you for sharing. Just as I was listening, and hearing some of the phrases and quotes that you presented, I also couldn't help but remember again a few more words that really got me through, which I seem to have completely forgotten. There are two songs from Number 48 or NMB
NMB?
48, NMB. One of them is called Boku wa matteru, or I'm waiting, or I will wait. And it's mainly about two people. One person that it talks about the journey of two people, specifically one person who is okay and the other person who they're not really okay. They have too much baggage, they have too much pressure. There is a phrase that says 思い出せよ自分の夢をこんなところで諦めるのか Remember your dream. Are you gonna give up in a place like this?
Right. That sounds correct.
Oh, well, thank you. I didn't know I was being tested. But yeah, that came at a time where that really sparked a lot of energy back into me. Like, I think the English equivalent is remember why you even started. And that tends to work. And then there's another song by NMB48 that's called 12月31日 I think, like December 31st, essentially. And I don't know if this is still a thing. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe there is, I don't know if it happens on New Year's, but there's something called Kohaku Utagassen.
With
And I don't know if it happens on New Year's, but in the song I did.
New Year's Eve, to be specific.
Okay. So the story of the song is based around this one member who did not make it. So they're just watching their like friends who are were chosen for the show and they're performing.
I see.
I don't know how I feel when I try to remember it again, because it talks about um, this person moved away from another city to join this group, and yeah, they're a member, but they didn't make it to the show, and they're talking to their parents for New Year's Eve. I guess now that I know it's New Year's Eve, and they're saying, "Oh yeah, it's fine. Like I'm having a lot of good time. It's working out really well." But they're talking to their mom specifically, and then as they're watching the TV of their fellow members performing, and they're sitting at home watching the them perform, you start crying because there's this feeling of I didn't make it. Like I'm still not good enough, and the year's gonna end.
I
And I don't
see.
know about you, but usually I get really self-reflecting at the year end of the year,
The hell?
and I start to think, how did I do this year? Am I doing well? What am I gonna do next year? I self-reflect, and that song just reminds me because it's exactly December 31st, and it's called that.
Wow.
And soon I might experience that. I'm gonna be away by myself, celebrating New Year's maybe by myself, working at a new place, new job, new environment by myself. And I'm just thinking now, am I gonna have to go through that too? Or like, oh yeah, it's amazing here. I'm really getting along with the team. I love my job. I love where I'm at right now. Am I gonna have to lie, or is that gonna be the truth? Just to start thinking now. I can't help but I just can't help but worry.
I see.
But to move on to some real world, not to say that this is all fake, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
To move on to some real world phrases that people have told me, I have a friend in high school, or had a friend in high school, who told me, uh, 困った時お互い様.
Mm-hmm.
When we are in trouble, we're both like we're together. Is that how do you translate that? When there's trouble, we do it together, or something like that.
How am I supposed to translate it? So,
Komatta is like it's a burden, right? When we have a
sort of.
burden.
So when we're in trouble, uh, otagai-sama is like it's mutual.
Mm,
It goes both ways, type of thing. So like the whole meaning of it is to help each other, right?
yeah, and they were older than me, so it felt really nice. It was from a male. It was from a male senpai, but
Oh,
it just felt cool, hearing it in real life. Like, wow, this is what people back then when I was more weebu. Like, wow, this is what people say in animes. I'm hearing it in real life. The ちょっと待ってください with the finger point.
did you do that?
No, I would embarrass myself in front of him. I'd
But
be like,
internally, you were doing that.
yeah, because I'm like, do you know there's this song, the Korean song that people use for effects, like the 별빛이 내린다, the sha-la-la-la-la-la-la. Never, have you heard the song before?
Maybe.
It's kind of, or do you know the Careless Whisper saxophone? The no?
No,
Okay, never mind. Time slowed down. That's what I'm saying. Like the
I see.
kabedon. Not really.
I don't.
The wall slam. I've never experienced it, but I don't plan on experiencing it.
But do you want to though? Because it causes some discussions.
Oh,
Those things like
that's a completely different episode. Let's say.
yeah. But then again, I mean, like I'm I'm kind of, I'm not anti cover doll, but do you really want someone to do that? Okay, this is totally another thing, but okay, let's go back to topic.
Media. I don't know. What did I grow up watching? In terms of media, I did watch a lot of movies. I watch a lot of J dramas.
Uh-huh.
Uh, Initial D really affected my wish to drive. If any,
Oh,
ah,
and
I
I'm from Gunma, so we've got
that's true.
Akagi and Haruna and all that, all the
Is that actually
places.
that's actually a mountain, right? Akagi Mountain.
Yes, yes, it's all in Gunma.
Oh, must be nice being from Gunma.
Sure.
There's actually found out like a few years ago that these mountains or toges actually existed, like
Uh-huh.
Akagi Akina. Apparently,
Is it Akagi Haruna Hyogi? I didn't read the manga though, but
okay. I watched the anime and I watched the live action, which is not in Japanese. Oh, do you know the drama Goksen?
yes, of course.
I grew up watching Gokusen. I grew up watching this I don't know which this Western TV series called ER or Emergency Room. So I grew up watching people doing surgeries. It's like it's drama, but so there's some. I guess it's not real, but I'd say it's pretty realistic in that you get to see organs, flesh, interesting medical series and medical cases.
I see.
Bought so many DVDs of that back then when DVD players were a thing, and now everything's just streamed. Because back then, I wanted to pursue being in medical,
Oh,
and now I'm not clearly. But Gokusen is a story of this Yondaime. So the fourth leader of the Yakuza family, I'd say,
yes, yes.
is kind of disguising herself as a homeroom teacher at a not really delinquent high school, but teaches a high school class,
Her
which
class
is
is full of delinquent students.
yeah. But I learned a lot of values there. I never thought I'd learn from a yakuza, but they have so much discipline and honor. Like there's this one episode, I don't know which season, where she talks about because they fight a lot, her students, and with sometimes amongst their own classes or with other schools, she'd say you should fight bare hands and not with weapons like cowards. And I thought, oh, so that means that when I fight somebody, I have to use my hands because that's honorable. But I felt that as I was watching Gokusen, I was also being disciplined and fixed because her students would really lack this sense of understanding about what their parents would feel like or what their parents want from them, and really just focus on this is what I want. This is the life that I want. And I'm not saying I understand my parents 100% now, but at the very least, at the time, I gained a little bit more open-mindedness. And oh yeah, this would make my parents sad. Let's say if I don't do well in school just because I want to hang out with my friends more or things like that. It just gave me a really good basic value. Yeah, it gave me a really good basic sense of value and more respect, I'd say, towards my parents at the time. And speaking of parents, I do see from time to time there was this one video on TikTok that told me you don't have that much time, your parents don't have that much time, and I hope you realize you and I hope you realize that before it's too late. Because growing up, I don't know if this is gonna get real sad or not, but growing up, I thought my parents are always gonna be here to watch over me, to watch me, grow. As I am already clearing 30, what else am I gonna grow into? As I grow, get a job, get married, or well, I already have a job ish, but as I progress into the next stage of my life and get married, become be a family person. But the reality is that might not happen. I'll never know. And just to give more TikTok references, I watched another video that says people who tend to be focused on making sure everybody is included used to be somebody that was never included themselves. And that made me think
I see.
that, oh, maybe that's why I'm so obsessed with making sure people are included, nobody gets left behind. And another one that I'm trying to hopefully realize is I don't know who this person is, but they were giving a speech when they won an award. And they said three things which I might have forgotten one of them being slowly is the fastest way to get somewhere. The next one is, oh, the top of one mountain is the bottom of the next.
Okay.
And my favorite one, which I'm probably misquoting, is someone's eyes light up when you enter the room.
Interesting.
That's something I want to be. Again, I don't know if I'm pressuring myself, like you say, but really that's all I want to be. I want to be able to be the light of the room. No, I just want to be able to inspire someone like that or spark joy in someone like that. Again, if I borrow your mindset, maybe you already are. Maybe you
Yeah,
already are
that's
doing
what I
that.
was gonna say.
Yes, this is what happens when you spend so much time with someone. I understand what you want to say. Sometimes, not 100%. I lack data.
I was using telepathy, so I hope it helped.
Because to go back to quantum Zen, I guess, I need to believe it for it to. I need to believe that I already am, and therefore I am. I know I said I want to be it, but maybe because I don't quite believe it yet. That's why I can't be it.
If I'm allowed to share my perspective
Of
here.
course, of course, of course.
So we've talked enough time to sort of understand each other more now. And from my perspective, I think you have a lot more friends and I think you're loved by a lot of people already.
Why, thank you.
And I'm probably more of a lone wolf type in comparison with you. But it's more of you just didn't see it or you weren't satisfied with it. And for me, because I didn't care being alone, it didn't bother me. It didn't even bother me, to start with. So, I don't know. That's what I thought. What do you think?
I don't know how to respond to that because if I say no, I don't think I have that many friends as you said. It might be disrespectful to those people. I always assumed I was a lone wolf because, again, I grew up with so much media because I was away from people. You go to school, then you go home. You don't. I go to lunch. You know what lunch is for? It's for eating. It's not for socializing.
Over.
So generally, maybe not with you, but when it's time to eat, you eat. When it's time to talk, you talk. You don't eat and talk at the same time.
I'm kind of like that.
Oh, I'm sorry for distracting you over that udon meal we had then.
No. We had a great time.
But it's just because I grew up in a way that eating is for eating because you have other things to do. Like you eat, then you do homework or you do whatever work after. When it's time, when you have free time, then you can socialize. Even within
Uh-huh.
the family, you socialize, which I understand is a very important value to have and practice to have as well. Yeah, growing up, it was just eat faster, work faster, efficiency, efficiency.
Uh-huh.
Everything you do must be efficient. Like cooking, I often get told when you cook, you have to be efficient. Use as little pots and pans as possible so you don't have too much to wash. Makes sense. Or to be more poetic, you have to be efficient in your movement. Like when you do calligraphy, one stroke, you should not waste it. Be intentional with your movements. I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's that kind of efficiency. You can't
I
have any
see.
wasted movements. Those are the kind of phrases that I grew up with. So over time, I became quite, I want to say, overly obsessed with efficiency.
Uh-huh. It reminds me of my first year in university.
Oh, would you mind elaborating a little bit about that?
Oh yeah, because obviously the amount of the workload became a lot more compared to when I was in high school. And also it was first time living on my own apart from parents. So I had to take care of myself doing the chores, right? So I was trying to schedule everything and I was trying to focus on efficiency and that's where I became almost depressed and felt stuck. So I continued that kind of way of living for first 1 to 2 years of university, and then I started changing my mindset. So I just wanted to add that I was there. I was at a similar place at one point.
But as we try to bring this to a close and talk about more recent ones, I understand that you already talked about your more recent influences,
Urban.
but let me share a little bit about my recent influences. Just for context, and for those of you who care and probably don't care, but you're gonna have to listen to me anyways, I because I'll be soon be leaving Canada and moving on to new opportunities. I have this period of resigning from various positions in my church where I'm carrying out like services or ministries, specifically in leading online like Zoom sessions, or my most enjoyable one, documenting events and taking photos of church life, which I really enjoy. But those are my main ones. As I'm resigning, I'm having a hard time of letting go because this has been what I've been doing for the past 6 years or so since I moved to this church. So it means a lot to me. Stepping down and making way for the new generation of photographers and leaders. I never really considered myself one, but as I'm thinking of resigning soon, which is actually at the time of this recording, it'll be just over 1 week from now. So it'll be on February 26th, I think. Yes, that I'll be formally resigning from my position as resident photographer of my church, as well as what's called a young adults leader, as well as the media team for our church's podcast, which talks about real world problems from a Christian perspective, or at least we try to. I started seeing a lot of my oshi or favorite members from JKT48 also start to move on to the next chapter of their life. And it's hard. It's hard, even though I don't know them and they don't know me. But when you grow attached to figures and people that you hold dearly in your heart, even though they have no idea who you are again. It's hard letting go, but because they're coming down from a very leadership position, as they're coming down from a leadership position, even though I don't want to say that I am in a similar position or have, if not the same experience or close to their experience, I believe they have a lot more experiences and they earned their position versus I just became one because nobody else wanted to become one. I don't know if that's really comparable or not, but I worked through it most of the time alone. I've had some support along the way, very supportive artists as well. But I put myself in that position. I really related and I wanted to look deeper into their graduation and their parting because they're leaving behind a lot of younger people and I'm only leaving behind two younger people.
I
Again,
see.
not trying to compare, but I started to worry about what exactly? I started to worry if I don't know if you've experienced this, but there are people who have some mean words and mouths and things to say sometimes when your work doesn't really meet their standard. I don't know if you've experienced this, but I've had some people that um they disagree with the way I work, maybe the less so the results of the photos or the documentation that I do, as long as they look nice, then it's fine. I've had people come up to me and talk about how all your new members aren't performing that well. Like they're very visible, they're very seen versus I'm not trying to glorify myself, but because I've been doing this since 2011 or 12, I'd say. I've been documenting in churches since 2012. Let's to be safe, I'll say 2012. I've done this for a while. I know how to move and not be seen or be heard. I know how not to disturb people. And for some of these people, they don't really do this or they haven't really done this. They don't know what photos to take, what photos not to take, when they should move, when they shouldn't move. So it's a lot of learning experience and it's hard when now there's more than one person. Granted, the two of them are make up my size. They're not giant. And and they're wearing like bright clothes versus I'm wearing like black. So I understand and I understand that now my position, at least at the time, isn't really to do the work anymore. It's to prepare them as best as I can. And there's so many quotes that come rushing to my mind when I think about that. Like they're not you. It should be. I watched another video that's talked about how art should be fun and it shouldn't be work. How can I prepare these new artists or emerging artists who are still everything excites them and they're so cute? I don't know if you remember. I don't know if you remember the first time you started discovering new skills and things that you can do, and it just excites you because you get so happy over it.
Right.
And now, when we do these same things or similar things, we just think, oh, that's cool. I didn't know I can do that. At least for me, I've lost that excitement
Oh,
because I've robbed myself of that joy because every time I achieve something, I think this much is expected of you. So a bit different from how I'm trying to guide these new people.
I see.
Yeah, that's a bit off topic of an ending. As I sit here in the dark, people, for those of you who are only listeners, because there's no video option anyway. Surprisingly, everything else except the internet has died.
Yeah. I mean, we were meant to continue this conversation.
Ah, thank you. What was it called? Divine intervention is protection.
Yes.
Whoever you got that from.
I don't even know where I got that from.
But how should I bridge this? Is there anything else you would like to say before I try to bring this to a clean close? Or I don't know if I really answered
Nope.
my own question of recent influence. But just to use an anime as well for a more recent quote, I'd say, just so I can match with what Yori is saying. I'm gonna take one roughly from the anime The Magical Revolution of the Reincarnated Princess and the Genius Young Lady. Which, what's the
Yes.
Japanese title? Sorry?
Oh, do I know the Japanese title? I think it was something like
If not, then we will repeat this again.
天聖王女と天才令嬢の魔法革命. Am I right?
No, would you like
It's
to repeat this
shortened.
again?
Do it.
Would you like to take
Give
it
me
out?
some
So I'll
time.
just. Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, so I was correct. So the full Japanese title is 天聖王女と天才令嬢の魔法革命.
Just to use an anime as well for a more recent quote or media that affected me, I'm gonna take one from roughly from an anime called The Magical Revolution of the Reincarnated Princess and the Genius Young Lady. What's the Japanese title of that, Yori?
天聖王女と天才令嬢の魔法革命.
It's not really a specific quote, I'd say. It's so far. I'm gonna take it from what I've learned so far about being free and being whoever you want to be and not
There's
being so stuck in the mold of being the perfect child, which again, if that's you and that's what you want to do, completely, that's you. You know, you do what you want and go you. I'm proud of you. But in my journey so far and how this has affected me, I also just want to try to give up on being the ideal person. Of course, it'd be nice, ideal child. The family is proud of you, does not bring dishonor to the family, as I say a few times already. It'll be nice, but if you've listened to the few episodes before where Yori talks about her relationship with her family, and I don't think I talk about my relationship with my family enough compared to Yori. She talks about how her parents' love for her is sometimes, or if not most of the times, bigger than the problem that is presented. And it's quite inspiring. But then when I think about it that way, I have to be the ideal, the perfect, mold of a child for them. I have to make them proud. When off air, or I guess in our own separate time, I hear from my parents that, like, what do you want though? I think every parent's wish is to know that their child knows what they want to do and can see that they are successful on their own and they can survive on their own. Because this is a complete off topic, well, maybe a different episode as well. Once I asked my parents about, don't you want to see me married and be in a family? And they said, not really. It's like, it's up to you, because it's not. The reality is marriage and relationships isn't what it's all cut out to be, on all the fantasy that you might see it as. Because if you're happier by yourself, then that's all that we want for you. We just want you to be able to be happy. If that's with someone else, then you be with someone else. But if you feel happier with yourself, then you can be by yourself. No one's gonna push you. And I thought, wow, that's really nice to hear.
See, you never know until you ask them. So just ask.
Case by case.
That's true. I'm sure their parents were not very supportive, but if you haven't asked them, just ask first.
But is there anything else you'd like to add to this episode on medias or phrases that affected you?
Well, not to use that anime as a reference, but I hope I did some of the job that Anis did to Yuffie, to you, letting you become a little bit freer. Free is that the word? More free than you used to be.
I'm sure that as we all grew up, we have come across some type of media or sayings, analogies, lessons that we've learned from our environments or from various media such as TV or social media. But ultimately, everything taken in consideration or moderation can lead to positive changes and hopefully not negative changes. And as every day we are continuously fed with information through our various devices, I hope that we can all learn to filter and not just be spoon fed with whatever we see and consume. But where can people find you on social media or your work, Yori?
So I have an Instagram account for my artwork, and it's at iori.artwork. So it's spelled as IORI.ARTWORK.
And if you would like to find my work and my other social medias as well, I am also on Instagram at Jasoto. That is at sign JASSOETO. And we hope that you also follow our Instagram at Quantum Perspectives. That is at sign QUNTUMPERSPECTIVES. Quantum Perspectives. Thank you for listening to this episode of Quantum Perspectives. We hope you learned something or some things, and we hope to see you, or we hope you can listen to our next one as well. Bye.
Bye!